It is never my fault when I lose. It just isn't. It's not my fault DPS players can't aim, nor is it my fault when the tanks are being stupid. And how can it possibly be my fault if the supports just don't heal? Whenever I lose, it is not my fault. Hey, what's up guys, Cliff here once again, and today I would like to talk about teamplay in Overwatch and some of the fundamental problems with Blizzard games in general, so let's get right into it. Playing team-based games is one thing, but playing a Blizzard game is another thing entirely. Some love it, some hate it, but these guys are taking the concept of teamplay to a whole new level. Now, I say that because I've had similar experiences to what's been happening in Overwatch and World of Warcraft and Heroes of the Storm as well, but for the sake of not making this any more convoluted than it has to be, I'll try to stick with Overwatch as much as possible. I will, however, be comparing it to other games, but I'm getting ahead of myself, so what am I even talking about? What are those problems in Overwatch? Well, Overwatch isn't just a game that happens to be team-based, nor is it a game that just happens to be team-based that strongly benefits from a well-coordinated team. It is a game where teamplay is absolutely vital. I lost count of the amount of times I mentioned that carrying in the classic sense is not possible in Overwatch unless there's a massive skill disparity. More often than not, losing to a single player's efforts has more to do with either the enemy team building a comp around this player to defend the living hell out of him and make sure you can't focus, or simply an absolute lack of team effort coming from the losing team, and this is where the problem lies. In a ranked match, should one of your teammates disconnect or leave the match, chances are that you're going to lose. And I already see people mention that they've won 5v6s before, and you know what? So have I, and I've also seen other people do, but in those cases, the wins are attributed to the enemy simply getting sloppy because they thought they had an easy win. Your mileage may vary, of course. But losing a player is not necessarily the most common thing to happen. What's more likely to happen is maybe the enemy's having better synergy going on, superior communication, and generally just way better team play. Another thing that can happen is that your team starts fighting each other more than the enemies, which can very often result in a loss, for both of these cases not based on mechanical superiority and what people would refer to as individual skill, but just based on the notion of team play and the lack thereof. And that is exactly where the "it is never my fault" argument kicks in. There are so conveniently many factors you can blame for a loss that players just always have an excuse. I mean, the lack of a proper scoreboard and a misleading medal system is also extremely convenient for these types of players. Sadly though, it's not like they're always wrong. In my videos I keep telling people to stay calm and focus and not get toxic in voice chat because all of these factors can majorly contribute to a loss. I say that, but it's not like I'm a naturally calm person myself. I've adapted to that behavior in ranked. In Season 1 I used to be tilted all the time. I tilted because Overwatch combined two of my most hated things in video games. One being losing because of something outside of my control, such as bad teammates for example, and the other is being useless. I used to play a lot of Flex with Soldier and McCree in Season 1, and I lost count of the amount of times that other DPS players just wouldn't hit anything, Reinhardt's dropping their shields to get me killed, and supports ignoring my calls for help. All of these things are as much frustrating as they are outside of my control. What ended up happening was that I would tilt to the point where I'd stop communicating in-game because anything I could have said would have just been some toxic bullshit, and well, my mates on TeamSpeak could tell. It got to a point where near the end of the season, I just played the dice rolling game. I just played Lucio in solo queue, and whenever we lost, it was not my fault. I could stay absolutely calm knowing I was there to heal, to speed boost, and to barrier people if need be. And that is what initially pushed my transition from a flex to a support player. As a support main, I could be useful without depending on my team. And I'm aware of the support main stereotype of the guy who is shit at healing and never takes responsibility for his failures, but I'm a pretty self-aware tryhard. I played support and I was good at it, so I had the choice between learning heroes I was trash with in an attempt to carry, learning heroes I was okay with trying to get better, or keep playing heroes I am good with to become great, and by that always be useful for my team. This is also where I started to main Ana and Zenyatta, by the way, and as long as I was useful I would not tilt, and even if I get angry, it wouldn't necessarily be because of things outside my control, but more because of my own misplays. Just like in a game like Rainbow Six Siege. Siege is absolutely unlike Overwatch. Sure, it happens to be team-based, and in a group superior communication and a higher level of play is definitely crucial, but down the ranks that I play, whenever I lose, I can tell that there were areas where I misplayed and where I could have done better. I get frustrated, sure, but I get frustrated knowing I can do better next time, and that goes a massively long way in helping me not tilt. And that goes out to all the Siege players as well. If you have enough time watching somebody play and criticize their plays on the death cam, then think about not dying in the first place, so you A, don't have to watch their bad plays, and B, take part in not getting to a situation like this in the first place by simply playing better yourself. But that is simply not the case in Overwatch. In Overwatch, we are dependent on our team knowing their roles, playing properly, and communicating well. We are also dependent on them not being dickbags. All these things are, well, a lot of things to ask for, especially given that we're on the internet. In a game like CSGO, for example, you can be a toxic cunt and still win the game. What do you care if you tilt your team if you just won based on your own performance anyway? I mean, it still makes you a cunt, but that's not something you have to concern yourself with. But this is simply the nature of the games we play. Overwatch is a game where a single person trolling, being toxic, or leaving can cost you the match. It is also a game where just one person not playing their hero well can cost you the match. As frustrating as that is, and as much as this leads to situations where we lose when it wasn't our fault, it is a game that was based from the ground up with team play in mind. It was built for teams, not for solo queuers, and as such, we will have to treat it. I know that it sounds like the message of this video is just, I'll go play Siege now because it's a better game and I can carry, but that is not at all the case. I am aware that these games are giving us entirely different experiences. As much as I love being the guy in Siege that makes a massive difference in the match, Overwatch just gives me a very satisfying feeling when playing with friends, or even with randoms in solo queue whenever we do happen to have some good synergy going on. Sure, it might suck that we can't carry in Overwatch, and it might also suck that we're so dependent on our team, but we trade those things for an insanely satisfying team experience and the chance to compensate for a lack of mechanical skill by superior team play and communication. I guess one can love it, one can hate it, and one can also just find it alright, but what we all can do for certain is complain, and I'm certain that on the internet that is never going to stop. But this is me done for the day, talking about team play in Overwatch, the satisfaction but also the frustration that comes with it. Do feel free to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you guys next time.